All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking time to jump in today. We're excited to get started and to talk to you about today about how to boost your law firm's online rankings and reviews. So again, thank you so much for being here and for all those that have jumped in last minute. To go over a few things real quick, we have Nalini here with us from Blue Shark. She is a total boss. So thank you for joining us. She is the Chief Strategy Officer at Blue Shark Digital. I've had the opportunity to interact with her at several different law conferences when we used to do those in person. So hopefully in the year 2021, we can get back to that and meet a lot of you guys in person. My name is Scott Porter, and I'm the Director of Strategy here at Podium. And I work specifically in the legal vertical, or I guess industry here at Podium. So we're excited to chat with you guys today to share some of our collective wisdom and a lot of data points that we hope will be beneficial to you as you're growing your business and your firm's reputation and your online rankings. So to cover a few things before we even get started, they wanted to make sure that I went over some housekeeping items. So for all of you that are on the call, if you do ever have any type of audio or video issues, just try to refresh your browser. It typically works best on Chrome. And then outside of that, if you have any questions, please feel free to go into the team chat section and you can submit any questions. We'll do our best to get to those. If we don't and we miss it, we will definitely address those at the end of the call as well. But look forward to jumping in, and I guess we'll go from here. But thank you so much, Nalini, for being here and joining us on the webinar today.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. And I think we have just a little bit of an agenda here that you want to go through of what I'll be speaking on and what you'll be speaking on, how we'll collaborate and kind of bring two of the best parts of getting reviews together. Yeah,
absolutely. So here's what it is, for our agenda. So ultimately, Nalini is going to be going over organic versus local SEO, as well as then touching on why the GMB is so important to local SEO. We'll then transfer and shift gears a little bit to the importance of reviews, and then wrapping up with some best practices and just, around collecting reviews and improving your online reputation. So really look forward to hearing from Nalini. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put that in the team chat. We look forward to sharing what we have. Nalini, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I also really appreciate being called a boss. Love that. So we're going to start with a very, very quick, simple, easy crash course on what's the difference between organic and local SEO? Where do reviews even come in? And so there's these two different places on page one of Google where you and your business can show up, right? There is the top 10, which is more focused on organic, which is what we won't talk so much about today. And then there's local SEO, which is this little 3-pack that everybody wants to get a piece of, right? There's a couple of different ways that you can optimize your website and the different elements and information that you're teaching Google in order for them to believe you're the smartest person in the room in a specific city, so that you should show up when somebody's looking for your services in that area. This local 3-pack pulls from your Google My Business profile. That profile is where your Google reviews live. So a lot of whether or not you're going to be chosen to be in this local 3-pack actually does come from how many reviews do you have? How good are those reviews? What kind of topics have the people who were reviewing you said you've helped them with, right? All of those are little data points for Google to consider when they're figuring out if you should be shown. A lot of these points that are on the deck, I'm not going to cover 100%. We're just going to have this kind of be a conversation, but this recording and the deck will be shared with you so you guys can take your time and go through it. And you have questions, you can ask me or Scott in the future, I'm sure. So moving right into what is your Google My Business profile, right? Sometimes it's called a knowledge card. That's what you see here on the right side of the screen. The most important elements of this are your name, your address, and your phone number. for years, Google had determined who was going to be in that local 3-pack based on who had the most directory listings, right? And that was the only way Google was able to say, okay, you're the best person out there because you have 150 directory listings. Since then, Google has gotten a lot smarter and has been able to give a much better consumer experience by bringing someone who actually is a good business, not just somebody that has known how to type and add directory listings, right? So here you can find out where you're located, what you have, but there's also all these new features that are coming out on this particular Google My Business profile where Google is able to find out more about you, but more so to see how consumers are engaging with your business. So for example, you have the reviews, right? And that was the biggest feature where Google could see how people liked you and whether or not you were a seedy business, a shady business, or you were one of the best in the area. Since then, they've now given you the opportunity to put little Google My Business posts up about the different, practice areas you do. You can also put services up. If there is a field to be filled in, one of my biggest takeaways is to go in and make sure that you have filled in all the information that's possible. Because the more that people can learn from you and the more they can click on different elements on this Google My Business profile, the more data Google has about you. And the more data that they have, the better chances you have of actually being visible. So as we kind of move away from that, there's one of these biggest things that's coming in that I wanted to touch on a minute. Some of you might have questions about these local service ads. Why are they important? They show at the very, 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 very top of the Google search page now. They just came out for legal in July. So right now it's a mad dash and race to be somebody who gets verified by Google and has the opportunity to show here. But the most important element here is that there's only a few items that show about these businesses in order for consumers to make a decision to call you, right? You can see that it's a much smaller box. And when you look here, you only have the business name. The review average and the number of reviews is the thing that pops out the most, right? It's golden. If you were to look at this very quickly, that's what your eyes are looking at. It has your years established, which is kind of a big deal there too, because you may be only around for 2 years versus your competitors are there for 30. If you're the guy that's been there for 30, that's great. And the hours available. But this aspect really, truly shows you the importance of reviews. Because if it's one of the only 4 things that somebody's going to learn about you before they can go in and click, you want it to pop, right? You want to have a good average. You want to make sure that you not just have a good average, but you have a ton of reviews. Because if I'm looking at this example in particular, I do like that the number 2 and 3 guy here have 5.0s. Our buddy has a 4.5, but if we look at how many people he's serviced and he's helped, he's got 508 reviews, which means he's been around the block, right? He's handled a lot of different things. And the average consumer also knows that when you have a lot of clients, you're going to have some people who are unhappy, right? You're not expected to have a 5.0. And in fact, it makes you more human to actually have some negative reviews that I can go read and see, what are your strong points? What are your weaknesses? And the best that you can hope for is that some of those weaknesses are crazy. He didn't like the color of the couch in my lobby, right? If that's the worst thing somebody can say about you, keep that negative review. It makes you look human. So this, as it being the new big thing that's popped out, really important just to show you that the way that Google's going is that they are trying to highlight businesses at very visible spots on the first page, and that reviews are always, always going to be one of the elements that are taken into consideration. That's kind of what the big thing here was. And then I just leave you with a couple of quick tips, but I'm sure when we have a conversation with questions and answers at the end, I can kind of hone in some of these. The biggest things that I say for do's and don'ts for reviews is make sure you're consistent, absolutely make it easy for clients, and create a process. The process is what's going to make you successful. All of you have clients that have loved the services that you've provided. But if you don't have it systematized and you don't have someone who can do the reaching out, who can hit the button, right, for sending a text message or have a central platform for that, something that I know that Scott's going to talk a little bit about, then you're going to miss opportunities to get those reviews. And just like everything else in this world, it's a numbers game. You're going to shoot out 50 asks and you're going to get 10 of them to engage with you. 5 of them will leave a review, right? So it's making sure that you're constantly paying attention to that and you're not just taking 2 months off and then going back 1 month and saying, okay, now I'll do my reviews. It is always, always, always something that should be on your plate or designated to somebody in your office. For don't pay for them. Google will know. They know all. You will get in trouble, and you don't want all that hard work of getting those reviews to end up going down the toilet, right? Don't engage negatively with your reviews. So one of the things that's really cool is that Google does give you the opportunity to respond to reviews. And if that is an opportunity, as I always say, use it, right? If people and consumers can go look at your negative reviews or even your positive reviews and see that you respond, that's awesome because they're learning something about you as a business. If it's going to take too much time away from your life and from the real things that you need to do, then you can also make it systematized, right? Find one certain thing that you can say back that maybe you can change their name, make it look a little personal. There's lots of ways around that. But if you get a negative review, give yourself 24 hours. Do not go into it hot-headed. Everybody gets angry when they get a negative review. Make sure that you take the time to see if you can fix it offline first, right? A lot of times they just want to hear from the name that's on the building. If you, the actual partner, go and talk to somebody, a lot of times you can get them to remove it. You can fix the situation. Great. If you try all that and it doesn't work, then try to respond with something very level-headed that if another person that would hire you sees, you can go to bed at night knowing that it was okay, they saw that. So those are kind of just a couple things that I would say. Yeah, if you have some there to throw in too, Scott.
Well, I was just gonna, I totally agree with you on that. I mean, we recommend pretty much the same thing, which, I actually had an attorney tell me, he's like, I had this person, leave me this negative review and look at my response. I was pretty proud of it. And he showed me he had like 4 or 5 paragraphs in a Google review response. And I just, so ultimately it's like, okay, how do you handle that? But ultimately, you hear this all the time, right? You never will win a battle online, right? Or in social media. Sure. So don't try. The best way to do that is be short and concise, and then invite them to call into the office to help. Whether it's a bogus review, hey, we don't see you on our in our system as a client, or maybe they just had a really negative experience. Great, say, hey, so sorry you had a terrible experience, or whatever you want to say. Keep it short and concise, professional. Please give us a call. We'd love to chat with you. And that's what future buyers and researchers that are looking at a law firm are looking for. They're looking for, do they care about what this person or one of their clients is saying? And all they want to see is a response. They don't want to, no one's going to actually read those paragraphs. Yeah. They just want to see that you care.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm wrapping up here to where you can kind of take it from there. But this is the last part was with dealing with negative reviews. The only other thing I would say is you just hit on it. You said sometimes there's a bogus review there or a misplaced review. We had somebody review a lawyer about pho. And we were like, this is not a Vietnamese restaurant. So no, we don't have pho here. So this is obviously in the wrong place. And for those instances, if it's someone you can't find in your client management system, or it is someone that you're pretty confident you've never dealt with, or it is something just ridiculous like they are reviewing someone else, there is the opportunity to flag it and then to escalate that to Google and say, hey, look, this is truly just not at all something that should be on ours. Can you take a look at it and can you remove it? So there is a process. It's pretty simple if it fits within the 5 things that Google says can be removed. I have a 1-pager that I am happy to share to all the attendees here at the end. And it's just a free resource that'll teach you how to do it. But other than that, I think I'm ready for you to take over here and teach us all the actual how do we get those reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. And please send that my way. I'd love to see how to escalate those reviews. I get a lot of people to ask as well. So, well, that's perfect, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to, let me jump in here a little bit and let's see here. Let me choose the next slide. Okay, perfect. Nalini, can you see that, today's legal industry?
I can.
Okay, perfect. So ultimately in today's world, right, especially within the legal industry, it's obviously very competitive. People, you have to figure out, hey, how do I distinguish myself as a firm where it's super competitive? We've got 1,000 different law firms in the same city. We're all offering the same price or, relatively similar things online. And so how do we distinguish ourselves, right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about, in regards to reviews. So as we go through this, again, how do we stand out in this competitive market? And the first step, obviously, is just, hey, deliver a quality experience, because eventually quality is going to win out. And it's also going to be reflected on your online reviews, right? Whether it's on Google, Facebook, Avvo, lawyers.com, wherever. But then encourage your clients to actually leave those reviews, right? And that's where, when we talk about, tips, right? Or how to get them, the first thing is just ask, right? And if it's uncomfortable, right, it's just a matter of, trying it out, and then you'll start seeing the benefit of getting those reviews, and what business it's actually bringing into the firm. So we'll walk through here, and what I want to do is ultimately just kind of walk through 5 reasons why online reviews directly impact your bottom line, right? If you haven't seen this already and it hasn't been a focus for 2021, I would say absolutely make it a focus, because you are going to reap the rewards of very little effort to get reviews, because that's how people are shopping and searching today, is by your online reviews. So first one, reason number 1, online reviews make it easy for potential clients to find your firm, right? We all do the same process online, whether you're an Amazon shopper or you're just looking on Google, but you put in best insert business near me, right? Best personal injury attorney near me, best estate planning attorney near me, best criminal defense attorney near me. And Google is pulling in those factors: highest star rating, most reviews, currency, the frequency of reviews, and then the comments, right? That Nalini's talking about, of, hey, how do we engage with them through those reviews and comments? So
the other thing there too, just real quick, is the content of it. So just like you said, the best estate planning, the best since February of this year, they're actually taking into consideration the words that are in your reviews and making little categories at the top. So you can go and look at your Google My Business and see, and if not, try to get the reviewer to leave the name of the item you helped them with. Try to put those keywords in your actual reviews as a little tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, that algorithm, right, they're going to pull, hey, slip and fall, right? Or truck accident, right? They're going to pull those keywords up for future searches, because Google wants to create an easier way for their shoppers to find the best value, right? And come back to Google. Makes sense. So again, we kind of talked about it, right? Recency of reviews, it plays a part in that algorithm. Frequency of reviews, the quality of review, and the quantity. So when they're talking about quality, right, they're talking about, hey, the comments that are left, the quantity, the number of reviews you're receiving, okay? Reason number 2, it will increase your traffic to your law firm, right? 3.3 stars is the minimum star rating of a business, consumers would consider. Typically what we found is that if you are in the 3.5 to 3.8 range, you're doing a pretty good job. A lot of lawyers will actually ask me, hey, I want to make sure that I'm getting a 5.0. Do not stress about a 5.0. In fact, the more, if you have 700 reviews and you have a 5.0, in most situations, people are going to start thinking, hey, well, is it really possible for this firm to give a 5-star experience to every client? Which we know just isn't possible all the time. So don't worry about it. If you don't have a 5.0, it's not going to hurt your business. So that's a little thought there. Now, kind of coming back to why, right? Online behavior is changing, especially from last year in 2020. We kind of closed off that year, but everyone is switching more towards this mobile experience, right? Searching more on mobile. So this best of search, right? It's grown 80% in the past 2 years. So best restaurant near me, best attorney near me. And what Google is doing is that they have their own filter. When someone puts in best personal injury firm near me, right? Or insert the type of law practice you practice. It's taking everything 4.0 and below and filtering you out, right? So if you're looking at your Google My listing, Google My Business listing right now, you're below 4.0. I would say that is a critical thing that you need to work on for your business to make sure that you are showing up and that Google is positioning you as a top choice. The second point here, local listings for local websites are responsible for 85% of consumer engagement with local businesses. And searchers are looking for relevant information, not necessarily specific brands, right? Which is totally true. Think about, if I have two different brand names that are, pretty well known, or let's say on Amazon, and I say, hey, this one has a 5 or a 4.8 and 200 reviews, or a 4.7 and 700 reviews. It all comes down to, again, the relevant, how relevant is this, and where are we seeing all the traffic going? Okay, reason number 3, online reviews are influencing purchasing decisions. You see here these stats: 93% of consumers say online reviews impact their purchase decisions. Back in the day, it was more word of mouth, right, and referrals. It's now changing, and the pendulum is more swinging to online reviews as people have become more savvy and more able to actually search and find out more about your firm through other individuals. So again, huge stat, 93%. 82% of consumers say the content of a review has convinced them to make a purchase. So think about the other way, right? Maybe it could be the opposite, where someone says, hey, because this was a nasty review and they mentioned people by name and we didn't respond to it, maybe that person believes the review a little bit more. So you can't underestimate the importance of the comments that are left, but also responding and engaging with those comments, whether it's even just a thank you so much, or hey, sorry to hear you had a bad experience, please call us and we'd love to help you out. Reason number 4, online reviews give you better insight into what customers care about. This is super important, right? Ultimately, they're going to tell you what's important. They're going to tell you about, hey, wait time, communication, specific case managers or attorneys, people that are standing out. And you'll start seeing, hey, here's some trends that we're seeing. Like Nalini was talking about, Google is pulling that content up to the top. So you'll start seeing those topics that are starting to show up a little bit more and more. And even, within like a service like Podium, where you're able to analyze a little bit more, what are some key trends? What are people saying? Who are they mentioning? And that way you're able to really figure out from a business perspective, hey, is it, efficiency in our communication? Look at these keywords that are really standing out to people. Maybe we use this in future marketing. And then you're able to incorporate some of those reviews on different online ads and marketing, or even on your website. I see that all the time on websites where people say, hey, I'm going to use this review comment that was left on Google or Facebook, get their permission to put it on our website. And it's a killer testimonial, right? When someone lands on your website and can see an awesome review from a client. Okay. The other thing, right, is just part of those interactions and understanding about the reviews is just the sentiment behind all of those, right? Calculating what those trends are. Again, it's part of Podium's platform, but just gaining better insight into your strengths and weaknesses as a firm. So if you start saying, hey, great, everyone loves so-and-so at my firm. Hey, maybe we need to look a little bit deeper into what they're doing and replicate that, right? Or maybe it is, on the opposite side. We see, hey, communication suffers. That seems to be a pretty common miss with a lot of firms is, hey, they don't communicate, well enough. And maybe that's something that pops up and you'll be able to see those trends and be able to fix those, change a negative maybe that's throughout the case into a positive. And then on the backside, be able to capitalize on getting a positive review from somebody because you took the time to really, take care of that throughout the process. Okay, reason number 5, online reviews improve law firm operations. And it goes back to exactly what we just talked about. So, figuring out, hey, is there a gap in certain places, communication, people, or processes. And then your customer experience, right? Obviously for reviews, we want to make reviews easy for us to get because it's going to help us to increase our traffic. But it also is helping your customer experience because if they have an easier way to find more information about you, it's going to make them have an easier way to make a decision to use you versus the competition next door. A few things here. I know we're kind of killing you guys slowly here with these numbers, but here's 7 tips. We'll kind of go through these quickly. Again, if you guys have any questions about this, please feel free to chat in with any questions, and we'll look to jump in and answer any of those questions coming through. But here's how to improve your online reputation. First tip. Just ask. Okay, we talked about it. I've had many a conversation with attorneys where they feel like it's a little difficult to ask. Here, 77% of clients are willing to leave a review. It's not because they don't want to, but it's all around convenience. So, for a tip for each, everyone on the call that maybe is not doing a review or they're sending it out maybe through email, capitalize on your interactions. Okay, so whether it's on the phone, whether it's in person, they're picking up a settlement check, they're signing final paperwork, build out that process and ask in that process to say, hey, great, let's use this moment to, send in my plan.
So one of the,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in here real quick. One of the questions was, what are some tips on how to ask? So on that one, you're saying, don't be afraid to ask. You know that people are. Do you have any specific tips on what makes it easier, aside from one of the greatest tips you gave was time, right? I will say that the time one, especially for PI lawyers, settlement check, that is the day they are going to be the happiest with you, right? And so Seth always has this joke, as the founder of our company, and he says, the day you hand them the settlement check, you are God's gift to earth, right? About a week or two later, well, they were good. They helped me. I'm glad I used them, right? 4 weeks later, man, I could have done this myself. I didn't need a lawyer, right? So it is important within almost that first week too. The one thing that I would give would be that a lot of times when you ask somebody for a review, and think about yourself in those shoes too, right? If I'm asked for a review, I may know right away what star level I will click, but I don't really know what I'm going to type. I don't have a couple sentences already ready. But if you are able to give 2 leading questions, 2 simple questions when you do the ask, you'll see how much easier it is for somebody to want to leave that review quickly. So for example, hey, would you mind just dropping a few lines about what you liked the most about working with me and what I helped you with? Now, all of a sudden, I know exactly what I'm going to write. So making it easier, right? And I know that you talked about that. Is there anything else that you would say helps lessen the nervousness of asking, knowing that you might get a review?
Yeah, so typically, that's a great recommendation right there. Usually a really good segue into asking for reviews is just at the end, or as you're working with that person, just to simply ask them, hey, how was your experience with our firm, right? It's not, hey, how was your experience with me? Just overall, how was your experience working with us? And most of the time, you guys already know, right? You already know that it's been a really good experience. I got them a freaking awesome settlement, or however your relationship has progressed. But you usually typically know. For those that you don't, right, you still want to ask and just verify, hey, did you have a good experience? Oh, yeah, right. All the time we hear from attorneys that say, yeah, I got people that will send me gift baskets. They'll send me Christmas cards. They'll send me handwritten letters, but I can't get them to leave a review. And so part of it is just asking, but then second is just making it simple for them, right? And part of that for you as an attorney or case manager or anyone in the office is, hey, the ask of, hey, did you have a good experience? Great. Hey, would you mind leaving us a review online? Okay. And at that point, everyone is, for the most part, willing to do it, but it comes down to how simple do you make it for me as your client to leave a review? And like you said, Nalini, you're absolutely right. in the moment, you have to capitalize, because as soon as they walk out the door with that check, or they've already signed the documents, let's say with an estate plan or whatever it is, they're done, right? And so the longer that you wait to send off that review invite, your conversion rate will suffer the longer and longer that you wait. So in the moment, asking up front, and then the way that you ask obviously is also important. So part of how Podium's built is, there's obviously different ways to communicate. In today's world, texting is by far one of the most preferred. So if we can provide you the ability to send off a review invite through text right then and there versus an email, it makes a night and day difference for you to actually get those reviews. Emails are opened with a 10% open rate on average across every industry, maybe 15% if you're doing really well. Text messages are opened at 97% within the first 3 minutes. So, take your chances, right, with text. Grab their cell phone number. If you already have it, awesome. But then shoot it off really quick through a text, right? And so it's all about making it, just like here on this slide, making it ridiculously easy for someone to leave a review. And that's what it comes down to, right? If it's a link I can click on and a text, I don't have to think about it. It helps with the review process. Awesome, right? I can do that. And building that into your process, I would say, would be the next suggestion, right? If you're handing them a settlement check, don't do everything and then ask for the review on the back end, right? Ask them for the review during the process. Maybe you walk away and ask for, say, hey, I'm gonna go get some final paperwork, but then you just send them the link right then and there. You walk away, give them a couple minutes to stew on it, write out a couple of things like Nalini, you were talking about. Give them some seeded questions, or hey, maybe some things to think about for the comments, so that you can actually prep their minds as you walk away. They have nothing better to do than to click on that link and leave you a review. So there's some comments there. If you guys do want to kind of jump in and talk a little bit deeper into your process, how it works, I've seen every different process across the board of how to get reviews, but we can figure out what would work best for the firm and your guys' process. Tip number 3 is finding the best time to ask your clients, right? We talked about this for obvious reasons. It's top of mind. You don't want them to wait, and you aren't taking any of their personal time. You have their full attention because they know they're going to get this awesome payout, and they're more willing, right? Not that we're trying to twist their arm in any way, but they're more willing to jump in and leave a review as part of the process before they walk out the door, finalize with all that, whether it's paperwork or, settlement check, whatever it might be. Tip number 4, walk clients through the process of leaving a review, right? So let them know why reviews are important to your firm, when they will receive an invite, how they will receive it, text versus email, and then what aspect of your service you want feedback on. We touched on this already. But again, even the personal plea, right? If I had Nalini come up and say, hey, Scott, it really would mean a lot if you left us a review online. It really helps us, stand out, and people like you to find us, so we can help good people like you to receive a good settlement. Hey, I'm all on board for that, right? So it's just, personal plea, telling them why. Say, hey, I'm going to send you a text message right now, or maybe if it's someone who's not very tech savvy, hey, let me send you an email with a link right now, and just kind of set them up for success as you're taking them through the process. The 5th one here is only focus on the review sites that matter to your customers. So Google and Facebook are general awareness and SEO impact. You have Yelp, lawyers.com, and others. But there are a million sites where you can get reviews. What we typically recommend for attorneys is Google, Facebook, Avo, lawyers.com. I know Yelp is pretty big for people in California. I think it's more specific to the California market. But those are the big ones, right, that we want to make sure that we focus on. Any type of microsites where it's like a third-party business, you're not going to get much SEO value or ranking value out of that. So we want to point them towards some of those bigger ships, so you guys can get more recognition online and in local searches. And then here, tip number 6, if you want customers to see your invites, send them via text. Again, we've kind of talked about this organically, but again, 99% of text messages are opened. 90% of messages are open within 3 minutes. I mean, you get it. Those are astronomical numbers, right? And if we're in person and we're already on a texting basis, most of you probably already operate through text anyway, whether it's through your cell phones or through your CRMs and case management platforms that you use. But please use text. You will benefit from it. It'll make the process easier for you and for your clients, and you'll see an increase in reviews regardless. Whether it's versus email, you will 100% see more reviews come through text. And then lastly is just streamlining the process with an online review management platform, right? So, this is kind of where it's coming down to, hey, great, what systems are you using? It depends, on, your volume, what it looks like. If you guys want to automate this, right? Obviously, we're on the call. Podium specializes in getting reviews and being best in class in helping to generate that, make it simple for you to do that. So we're very open to conversations. If you want to learn more about Podium and learn how to get reviews, maybe automate the process, automate getting feedback from your clients, automate the process of the intake process. There's a lot that Podium can do, but ultimately it's all about helping your system to be more automated, right? Whatever you're doing currently, think about how can we streamline this so that we can focus on being, putting more of our time back into being a good lawyer, and then allowing the business or the process behind it, being able to manage that to make it a lot easier for you to generate reviews and to get more business in the door. Go ahead, Nalini.
So Scott, I was going to say we did have some questions here too, a couple for you specifically. So as you were talking about that, one of the questions was, why is it better to use something like Podium, a whole system, than just sending them the link myself? So what are the benefits there?
Yeah, great question. So part of Podium, one of the really strong benefits of Podium is that we have the partnership of Podium in our corner. So they are one of our financial investors, and they've actually given us access to their reviews widget. Anyone can do a copy pasted link and they send it off and have a client click on it and then go through the review process, right? There's just going to be more steps to get to that review process of the 5-star page. So what the review widget that Google's given us access to is basically it helps with the sign-on process. It helps to sign them in automatically from their default browser, pulls in their your username and password to sign them in automatically, and then it gives them multiple review sites. So within the same link, Google, Facebook, Avvo, lawyers.com. And there's no load lag or issues with that because it's going right through Google's review widget. So that's a great question. And yeah, absolutely. Like if you wanted to send off a text link versus see Podium in action, we're more than happy to show any of you on the call to do that.
The other thing too, I've seen a lot of our clients who are using an in-house approach versus using a platform like Podium. When you're doing it in-house, it's the tracking too, right? Because it is not going to necessarily happen that you're going to get a review on that first ping. You're going to need to ping them a second time or a third time. And it is much more organized in a dashboard versus trying to put it on a manual spreadsheet or something like that. Maybe, I know some of you use like Smart Advocate and Filevine and things like that, but there isn't necessarily a place that is designated for how many times have I hit this person, when is a good time to hit this person, whereas you can keep all of that tracked, I think, a little bit better in these programs. And it reminds you, just things like that would be what I've seen and heard are benefits. Yeah.
And to that point as well, Nalini, I mean, we get people that say, hey, great, here's an in-house approach, or we can do that. Which is great. Ultimately, what happens is it becomes a focus, right, for a month or two, and then people go back to exactly what their roles are, which is not getting reviews, right? And so if you can get a process like Podium in place that helps to automate the process and make it really simple, then you're not having to pull attention from people's primary roles and responsibilities to do that. You're creating less friction across the board and more efficiency. Like you said, where you can track, you can trace, you can evaluate. You just get a lot more data and insight, and makes it a lot easier for the firm to operate instead of having, a homegrown approach, which is always good. You want to make sure you can try that. But in essence, obviously, there's a reason why you want to make sure that you focused on your primary, roles and responsibilities. And if we can help you add value and save not only time, but bring more revenue into the firm, then it's a win-win across the board.
So another question here was, how can we stand out against a large firm with more reviews? And I would be interested in your take on that, Scott, as to how you guys do that. And I have a couple of things to add.
Yeah. So I get the question all the time. How do I compete with a law firm that has $1 million marketing budget? And the great thing about that is that on Google, you don't have to, right? Obviously, if they have higher reviews, that's one thing, right? Where people start seeing that, and again, it just depends on who your client is, right? Some people don't like seeing, hey, I've got 1,000 reviews from a PI firm. Some people like to work with solos more, right? So you also have to know who your target market is and understand that. But the good thing about online reviews and Google is that it's a local search rank, right? So it's based off of, your area. So what you want to do is you want to stand out in your area. And the more and more that you can do that, right, it's only going to benefit you, right? If someone is a giant in the space and they have, let's say 1,200 reviews, and you're right next door to them and you have, let's say 20 reviews, there's other things that you can probably do from an SEO perspective as well to capitalize on that. That maybe Nalini, you can jump in on, but you will always benefit yourself by getting reviews, whether you're a solo practitioner or you have 20 attorneys in your law firm. You will always get more business, and you'll show up in more searches the more reviews that you get. It doesn't matter, necessarily compare the two against each other.
Yeah, and I think that was really important to say that some people are not necessarily looking to work with the giants, right? It depends on who your audience is. But I think the main thing that you said there that makes sense is that when it comes to standing out, there's a host of other aspects that you want to show that own your brand, own that you are the head of your firm, you are a solo practitioner, or you've got 3 of the best lawyers in town at your firm. And hey, guess what, guys? You're actually going to talk to me when you deal with my firm. You're not going to talk to the associate that just graduated law school last year, and you'll never talk to the name on the firm for, the person that has 1,200 reviews. Likely, if people are looking for smaller firms, they're looking for that kind of interaction. It's about making sure that photo that's on your Google My Business card shows that. Right? If you have a nice set of photos of your team, collaborating with each other and just showing that you're kind and you have this, whatever your office space may look like, making sure that that's the first thing they see, that the brand is what you want to be, right? People work with people they like and trust. So putting those photos up there, making sure that the branding on your site, when they go in there, they immediately feel that you care about the community, that you care about this and that it's not just a courthouse that they see, right? That's where it comes in to stand out from these other tycoons. The other things that you can do is again, it's other aspects of marketing, but link building and organizing yourself so that Google understands that you're related to a lot of different organizations and people in the community, right? That you are connected and you are endorsed more than the big name because you actually have boots on the ground in the community. A lot of those things, though, are separate. So there's the idea of how do I stand out to the user that is looking at the top 3? And then there's the question of how do I show out to Google so that I can be placed in the top 3, right? Remember that it is the Google bot that you care the most about to stand out. And there's lots of ways for you as a smaller practitioner to stand out against those big guys. Google's not in the game of making sure that there's a monopoly out there, 100%.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, I agree. It's different things. You've got another question here too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'd like to take a stab at that one. So, and I really appreciate it. So it's basically they say, hey, we close 5 or 6 files per month. What's the cost benefit analysis on turning over the follow-up to an automated system? And here's what I would say, right? If you have 5 or 6 files a month, right, or cases that come through, you know, and you're able to generate reviews off those, let's say that's 60, 65 reviews over the year, that will 100% pay off for new business, right? Especially when the algorithm is considering recency of reviews, the number of reviews, and the star rating, right? So you will never be disadvantaged by adding more reviews to the pipeline. Now, it's not astronomical, right? When you think about the cost. So, you know, if you are solo, again, it's not an astronomical cost for you. It's one thing where you have one case come off of it from the entire year, it'll pay for the entire year. So it's not worrying about that. But in addition to that, what I would suggest is it's not just even your clients. We also, you know, some firms will say, hey, look, we provide free consultations. And sometimes if they don't hire us, we actually will send off a review invite to that person because we provided valuable, you know, knowledge and information in that consultation. And you can ask them for a review, right? Same thing with your past clients. A lot of times we have clients that say, hey, I've got 2,000 clients from the past I'd like to get reviews from. Awesome. Hey, let's send out a review invite to those people and make sure that we have a really big surge of reviews to get you going, right? So there's a lot of different ways that we can pull reviews in from your client base or from consultations, which will help benefit you. I mean, I'd say if you were, you know, a firm that did, you know, maybe 15 or 20 cases a year, maybe you do a homegrown approach, right? But still getting reviews, you will be benefited every single time you get a review because Google will prioritize you in more of those local searches. Great question.
I think, Scott, you also said it. You said consistency. That's the big key here, too, with using one of these generated programs or, you know, automation programs, is that it's not just about having the most reviews, but it's about the same effort in and out every single month so that Google sees that you're consistently adding reviews, whether that's 2 reviews a month or 45 a month. Google would rather see somebody add 2 a month than see somebody add 45 one month, wait 6 months and add 45 again. The person adding them consistently is going to win.
Yeah. And even on that side, right? Let's say someone says, hey, I've got 400 reviews, but they haven't gotten a review in the past year. They are hurting themselves because Google is looking down on that. So again, even if you say, hey, we're in a good spot, don't be complacent with your reviews. You know, you want to continue to get reviews from your clients.
Exactly.
So,
I think that was...
This is great. Yeah. Great questions. If you guys do have others, we would love to help answer. I know, let's see here, Nalini, I'm not sure if our contact information was on here, but you guys will get the slide. Yeah, they don't give that out, right? No, I'm kidding.
It's all the way at the front. There's also one other question here that if we're towards the end, I don't mind sharing my screen to show this really quickly about the mobile friendly, how to actually test what your site looks like on mobile. Here is did that show our contact information there? You're able to see that. Awesome. Yeah, if we're down to the last couple minutes here to wrap up, I am happy to share my screen and kind of show. Somebody had asked, what are the best practices on knowing if your website is mobile friendly? I can answer that offline if somebody wants to email me about it, but just to show you let's see if I can do this. Are you able to see this now? Yes. Are you able to see the Price Benowitz site?
Let's see.
You seen that, Scott?
On the actual slide deck, no.
Or what the person is seeing. All right. Well, basically what you're going to do is you open your website up in a browser, any browser, and then you drag the browser to make it smaller, right? So if you're able to change the size of your browser to make it small, almost like the size of a cell phone, you're going to see that your website has changed the look and feel to what it would look like on the size of a screen, of a cell phone screen. If your website has not done that, it means it's not mobile optimized. So that is the easiest way to tell if your site is. It's that as your site the screen size changes on your browser, the information is moving around so that it looks optimized for the size of the screen you're looking at. It's the easiest way to look at it, I would say.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so that, I think, kind of covers all of our stuff. I will make sure that you guys have the little one pager on how to flag a review so that you can share it with your folks, and then we can share it with the folks that attended today as well.
Awesome. Nalini, you are a boss. Thank you so much for joining. And thanks everyone for taking time today. We look forward to chatting with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure.